One step closer to being the champion.
So yeah, Priest versus Druid, we see this. We used to see this pretty often. Basically, Druid is favored, but Priest can just win the game if it draws like double Dark Cultist or Injured Blade Master Circle of Healing for turn 3. It's very easy for one of the two decks to run away with the game, and it really just depends on what the board looks like after turn 3. So if I were Darkwonyx, I would keep that circle actually, because Blade Master is his best chance of winning, and he needs that 2-card combo to make it happen. Kind of like keeping Keeper of the Grove against Zoo, where Innervate Keeper is really important for Druid beating Zoo. He's going to opt to put it back, though, and okay, Zombie Chow's pretty good, actually.
Zombie Chow. Yeah, that's right. He has 2 of them.
Wow.
Yeah, just want to get on board nice and early.
What's better than one Zombie Chow? Well, there's actually a lot of things that are better than Zombie Chow. Whoa.
Pre-nerf Undertaker.
You know, what happened to Shrinkmeister right now? Everyone said that that card was supposed to be the messiah of Priest. It's like, oh, we finally can attack 4 attack minions.
Yeah, some Priest decks do play it. You just don't see Priest often enough to really know whether Shrinkmeister is common or not, you know? Half the players I play against on ladder do, half the Priest opponents do have Shrinkmeister, some of them don't. But yeah, it was definitely talked up quite a bit when it first came out, or when it was spoiled.
A lot of times playing Shrinkmeister in a deck, it comes out as just a 3-2. You don't feel like you are safe enough to be able to save it for a combo, or it just doesn't, the combo that you get with it is just not relevant, like with a Cabal Shadow Priest or something. So
it's a similar case with Wild Pyromancer a lot of the time too, though. Like playing a 2-mana 3-2 isn't that bad, and just having that option in the first place is pretty solid. We might actually, oh no, never mind. I was gonna say we might see Savage Roar next turn, but probably just a Drake.
Yeah, and then meanwhile, a dead turn here for the Priest. I mean, you still attack, and you get some damage in, but the Zombie Chows will heal him up pretty quickly, so Druid's not under the heaviest amount of pressure to try and survive.
Yeah, this matchup is not so much about dealing damage from either side. It's more about just getting board control and then snowballing with it. So the fact that Priest had 3 minions down by turn 3 is far above average, so that's like a really good start. But, you know, Druid had a pretty solid one, too. Wild Growth, Double Shade, it's very strong. Sylvanas, I think, is going to be one of the key cards of this game, because assuming that the Druid doesn't end up drawing a Keeper of the Grove by the time that comes down, it could easily just control the board on its own.
Well, he's going to cross his fingers and hopefully for no Holy Nova.
well, that's a shame. If it had that Arcanized Soul Priest last turn, it would have made it a really problematic turn for SilentStorm, because that would have been quite a bit of damage that he would have taken on the other end trying to clear out those Zombie Chows.
Well, Hawkeye still a solid draw if it can be followed up by a Circle of Healing. That's definitely one way to swing this board back in his favor, but an uncontested Druid of the Claw is just one of the many great threats Druid has against Priest.
Yeah.
It's pretty much the same as a Spectral Knight because it's not getting targeted.
Was SilentStorm the player actually running Spectral Knights? I know there was one Druid player who had them.
Yeah, I don't remember who it was. They definitely seem great for this tournament, though. A lot of Rogue.
Yeah.
I guess even Rogue can deal with it pretty easily now since they play Double Blade Flurry, but
Warrior as well has trouble dealing with it.
oh yeah, definitely.
Because you can't have target removal. It's even out of range of like Deathbite plus the Whirlwind effect.
Well, the world's biggest Fen Creeper sitting in play.
Better than Fen Creeper. Spawns a Goldshire Footman afterwards.
Ready for action.
Good cards.
There is no Black Knight, though. Black Knight would have completely destroyed this blowout game.
Yeah. Not much room for Black Knight currently, because a lot of the popular decks just aren't very taunt heavy.
Wow, that was an interesting trade sequence, because now it's just an easy shot for the Arcanized Soul Priest.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a play he had to make. If he waited, the Sludge Belcher would get an attack and heal up, so he gets a bit less value out of his minions.
Yeah. And Soul Priest also puts a wrench in SilentStorm's plans as well, because he's coming up on turn 7. So turn 7, of course, Dr. Boom or Ancient of Lore. An Ancient of Lore turn, if he plays Ancient of Lore, unless he has an Innervate for a hero power to take out the Akanai Soul Priest, Akanai Soul Priest actually trades pretty well into an Ancient of Lore, as long as you can fit in a hero power. So,
yeah, it's about the implication of it, though. It's like Ancient of Lore was a 5/5 and needed the opponent to trade down into it, and you drew 2 cards. So
Yeah.
it's still really effective. The big thing is whether or not you can use Ancient of Lore to bait out Shadow Word Death, and then have like Dr. Boom come out, because it's very rare to see a priest play like a big game hunter. So Shadow Word Death is his primary tool.
yeah.
I like this Sylvanas play more than the Akanai. If he did go with Akanai here to take out the Shade, the Drake would just kill it with the help of hero power, and then this 4/1 threat would still be in play, ready to trade off for something else. Priest just doesn't have a lot of good ways of pinging off something with 1 damage.
Fair
Yeah,
enough.
with 1 health.
Fair enough. The only way you can do it is if you have Pyromancer.
But there are a lot of just resources at Drew's disposal here. It feels terrible, but I would actually just trade both minions into the Sylvanas.
Ouch.
It's not pretty, but you get to develop the first threat.
Yeah, you still keep initiative, but
Would you play the Ancient of Lore or Dr. Boom?
Dr. Boom. I like forcing them to have the death as early as possible, and then if they have the death in that scenario, you still have the boom bots for immediate. Like, by playing it a turn earlier, you get more value out of the boom bots because you get to free roll 2 damage.
All right, here we go, Dr. Boom, but it is going to be Shadow Word Death. The follow-up still is not well defined yet.
That Vol'jin, you really need to be playing Smites with that card, or else it does just get awkward a lot of the time. Or you need to have an Akanai already sitting in play, which doesn't always happen.
Yeah, it's a good point.
This turn definitely seems just like a death drop Akanai. Having Akanai in play of that Vol'jin pretty well. If these boombots end up killing the Akanai, then hopefully there's still one around to Cabal. It's not the end of the world. I guess you run into it and just see what gets hit.
yeah.
Decide if you have to keep her or the Grove. If he does keep her, that's going to give Darkwonyx a fantastic Cabal Shadow Priest target, though. So he has to keep
The
that
only
in mind.
targets, really, other than the Pilot Shredders, that can drop something.
Yeah, regardless of his play, I think he has to check first.
Left Boombot hits for 4 to the face.
Ooh.
I mean, just has to hit this and has a 50% chance. Oh. Well, so he can hero power it down, but
I would just play Sylvanas on an empty board.
yeah.
Yep. It's been through a death.
Exactly. If it goes for another one, that's fine too.
I don't even know are priests playing 2 Shadow or Deaths anymore. I just haven't seen priests enough to.
Everyone's
To
list
see.
is different, to be honest.
Yeah.
For all the decks that you don't see very often, everyone has a very different list of it. Like, for example, Shaman, you know, SilentStorm's list is very different from Pink Mingo's list.
Yeah. All the priest players have different lists. All 12 of them. This is troublesome.
Yeah, it doesn't look very desirable. You know, you want to put out as much as you can to fight off the Sylvanas, but the Vol'jin is not a great tool because it's easy for your opponent to just, you know, Wrath Throw minion, steal a 6/5. And then playing the injured Blade Master will just get eaten up, and you don't have a guarantee to be able to kill it off the next turn either. It's pretty problematic.
Oh, man. One.
I mean, you probably just Vol'jin.
The problem is giving the 6/5 over to your opponent if he has any way to deal with it, whether it's Wrath or Keeper,
Yeah,
etc.
that's true.
What about playing the smaller minions and then healing the injured Blade Master?
Well, that's just going to get his Blade Master picked off, and then Keeper of the Grove again would just kill the 3/2.
Yeah.
Yeah, Darkwonyx is going to do what he can, but this is just a situation where there's no good answer.
That's kind of what Priest struggles with too, right? Just those consistency issues of being able to answer if they don't have the right solutions at the time.
So he's going to go for the steal by shooting his own Sylvanas. This does mean he can't play a lore, and that's going to give Darkwonyx a Cabal Shadow Priest target.
Yeah, but he got a 6/5 in exchange
Yeah,
for it.
I'd say that's a pretty good trade. And we talked about how Darkwonyx got his victory yesterday with Priest, but I mean, he started off with the injured Blade Master Circle of Healing, which went a long way in the matchup that he ended up winning. So, like you said, just nodding on to the consistency again. If it's not there, then matches can just seem like endless uphill battles that just seem unwinnable at points.
Yeah, without that combo, Priest really does struggle, because so many of Druid's minions have 4 attack. They're just really tough to interact with. They never really run out of cards because Ancient of Lore, and then all throughout the late game, they're threatening 14 points of burst, so you have to heal yourself pretty often. You really need to snowball early and then control the board with hero power the entire game through.
Well, finally an opportunity to play Ancient of Lore and perhaps grab just such a firm lead that it won't ever let go. Druid be up in cards, ahead on the board, and looking at ending the game with the combo soon. This is just a runaway.
It's so tempting to kill Keeper of the Groves in this situation, but I wouldn't fault him for just going face either. That also forces the heal to make that.
He's already got combo, so he just has to have these minions survive and the game's over.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
it's actually one of the best draws he could get.
It's pretty fantastic, actually.
This into Holy Nova.
he's deciding which minion to buff. Does he want to play Blade Master first? Alright. Oh, man.
That is rough.
Oh boy.
And it's like,
Heard you like 4-3s.
out of all the things that you could get, that's the worst in all matchups, but like,
I mean, I think that
against
and
Priest,
Millhouse, right?
Yep.
Yeah, Millhouse as well.
Millhouse is the best. Succubus is the second best, and Patient Assassin's usually the third best.
Yeah, that's right, baby. Patient Assassin. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not really much, but Circle of Healing could be a way for you to clear the board with Augenai if you hold on to it, but using it now is also for you to fight back on the board. And I believe that is game. Force Nature Savage Horse should be able to lock it up. SilentStorm should be winning game number 1 here in just a moment.
Yeah, Darkwonyx knows it. Gives a little nod in approval of the combo.
Well, maybe not approval. SilentStorm is up 1-0.
I think he played that about as well as he could have. That Sylvanas really was the turning point. I mean, he had no good answer. He had to drop Vol'jin, get it stolen. It was just a brutal position to be in.
Yeah, and then from there, he just never had an opportunity to seize back the board. And Priest, the only way it can gain advantages in those mid to late games is to use its hero. Will he be another second place finisher in the group that upsets one of the first place finishers from the group stages?
Oh, it's Warrior.
I like keeping Rockbiter
It's
here.
Warrior.
That changes
Warrior for
things.
sure.
It always hurts to keep Rockbiter against a defensive deck, but honestly, with Haunted Creeper, it'll take out an Armor Smith, it'll take out an Acolyte. You need to be able to deal with those cards, or else they're just going to pressure your totems all game.
All right. We just got notification that it is, in fact, the wrong choice. So we're going to have to re-mulligan that, because I think Warrior was the third class chosen, right? It's hard for them to fight efficiently, card-wise, just because, you know, Wrath doesn't do really a good job of it on 3 mana. And even Shave Next Rammus, it's like at least you're stalling them long enough for you to be able to build your board a little bit more.
Yeah, their shock's going to be pretty nice, too. After Piloted Shredder takes out a Feral Spirit, you can finish it off. Same thing with Shade Next Rammus. Druid's actually playing a lot of 3 health minions. Oh, yeah, Bloodfin Raptor.
And we've seen the
Oh, sorry, go ahead. I was just going to say, I feel like people are missing out on a lot of potential beast synergy with that card this tournament.
Yeah. It's, I was going to say, it's sort of funny that all the players in the past, like 3 matches or so, wait for the mulligans. You guys said it was happening. SilentStorm doesn't believe in that. He's a super fast player. Once he decides his mulligans, he locks it in. No need for mind games with SilentStorm. One of the fastest players I've seen in competitive play.
I'm definitely a fan of that as a caster.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about fan of seeing more beast synergy in general? Because you were talking about Bloodfin Raptor. Why not Druid of the Fang? Huh?
Yeah.
Well, because it's terrible.
But snakes.
If that card was a snakes.
But snakes.
If that card was a 7/7 all the time without me having to have a beast, I still wouldn't play it. That's how good that card is. Really. There's a card like that already exists, and it's called Fell Reaver, and it also gets big game hunted and makes me sad.
Yeah, but that's because the drawback of Fel Reavers.
Drawback never matters. It's just because it gets big game hunted. And so many 5-drops are good. You can lose some stats to have like the Loatheb effect, for example. It's almost always better.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So by that logic, if Druid the Fang was a 50-50.
That's very different because then it's like BGH where you lose the game.
Okay.
So anything between 30 and infinity is the same number, and then like 29 to 1 is.
So if Druid the Fang was a 29-29, you wouldn't put it in your deck.
Let's say like 25 because you can usually get in the first 5. And if it was a 20-20, I would not put it in my deck.
Oh my goodness.
You heard it here first.
You are too much, Andre. The Panther was put out there just to control the board. I think it's so important just to deny it. If Shaman misses its 2-drop, controlling totems is still really effective. It's always been the core to how Shaman does anything, whether it's Flame Tongue Totems, Defender of Argus. Even the Rock Biters to get big trades, they can often use their free cards given off totems.
Yeah, I think that's one of the main reasons why Shaman has a lot of strengths against Druid. It's just because they can use their totems to trade up. And a lot of times the mid-range creatures that they put out just get traded with like a Haunted Creeper or with like a couple totems, which really stops their momentum. It allows the Shaman to clear, while also putting out threats of their own because they're using low mana to take out high mana.
Yeah. I would have really liked to have seen a Wild Pyromancer on turn 2 from the Shaman. We know that there was Innervate Keeper of the Grove available for Darkwonyx, which would have kind of shut that play down, but it's hard to play around that 2-card combo, and you really don't want to let all of your totems get whittled down. This Panther also trades for a Wolf, which is not irrelevant.
Yeah, but it's not ideal if you want to seize the board initiative, because now you can place that Wild Pyromancer safely behind a taunt if he ends up dealing with it very passively.
I think I would be okay with just innervating hero power here. I think it's better than drawing with Wrath, and I think you do want to develop the Keeper.
And 2 attack is really important, just to keep smacking down those totems.
4 health too. Survives Rockbiter and Bolt.
True. The Totem Slam.
So it also survives against your Crackles.
Yeah. Unkillable by Rainhead Crackles.
Yeah, and now it's another awkward position for SilentStorm. The Keeper of the Grove challenges the Pyromancer pretty easily. And I feel like the Pyromancer was directly made as a call of all those 1/1s that you might see, whether it's through Hunters, you know, even the Rogues, right? The Violet Teachers and the Apprentices.
Yeah. I think it's a smart choice. And he just totems up, which is... he wants to protect it.
But he's starting to get pretty far behind on the board. Like, if he drops his Drake and it gets swiped, then Druid just starts pressuring. And it's one of those things where, like, no matter what he puts out, it starts getting immediately dealt with, and he keeps pushing for damage, and he just loses too much tempo.
All right, well, Wrath Keeper here is not bad, actually. Is the plan to trade off? Save the Wrath, maybe?
Maybe Wrath and trades his Keeper in.
I guess it develops a 1/1, that's fine.
Pay attention, class.
You know, like the 2/2/4 is doing too much if you're going to be generating. Oh.
All right,
why
did we
spell
forget
power.
about spell power? Well, it's getting late in the day, I guess. That play wasn't
He
complicated
said 1
at all.
hour after saying you guys can't count.
You know, man, I just woke up.
Don't worry, we know.
I was sitting here thinking, maybe there's some next level strategies that these guys are talking about.
Right, that's what you're thinking of. You didn't miss it, too.
I was like, oh yeah, maybe,
Become
maybe they're going to do it.
Become legendary. Well, I mean, this is what the Pyromancer was for, to deal with the Violet Teachers, but in what capacity could he do it? Let's see, the Crackle could roll 4 or higher.
Yeah, this Pyromancer doesn't really help out much here.
Yeah, I'm trying to evaluate it. It looks relatively weak, just because of its 2 health.
I think the best play is probably Pyromancer Shredder.
I think he really wants to kill off the Violet Teacher, though. Alright, 5 damage. Pretty reasonable.
Yeah, would have been the
Hey, you
same
know what,
outcome, anything over than 3.
The sweep does become relevant, because now if he gets Fire Elemental off the top, he'll have the 6 mana because of the Overload 1, and you'll be able to snipe anything. As well as any Power Mace, Rockbiter, Or even Lightning Storm.
Yeah.
SilentStorm's been playing this game super, like, value heavy. He's hero powered as much as he can, and it's pretty much like armoring as a warrior. It's just gaining 2 life per totem. And that's really going to pay off if Darkwonyx never sees an Ancient of Lore, because he's just going to run out of resources.
Yeah.
But if he does find one, the Shaman won't really be able to capitalize on this style of play.
I think Lothep might just lock SilentStorm out of being able to have a chance at coming back.
I mean, it depends. Depends on like what SilentStorm can do with the cards that he's drawn. Like the big thing is that cards like Earthshock don't have impact. Flametongue Totem is also pretty minimal because there's no board ever. That's why he needs something big like Fire Elemental to swing it back.
Yeah.
Darkwonyx taking his time every turn, doesn't want to give anything away by just playing anything immediately. Wants to make it seem like he has options.
Yikes. Hex number 2.
Well, it's normally good against Druid, but I guess not when Lothep's down. Time to shred her totem. Hope for the best.
Yeah, more taunt totems would be good.
They all have taunt.
Yeah, I mean, there you go.
It's like the Huffer of
They don't
Shaman.
all have taunt. The Healing Totem doesn't have taunt. Sometimes you feel like you can leave it up.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
That Flame Tongue would put in work, though.
How much damage is this?
Too much.
It's 5, 7, 11, plus a swipe. 16. He's 1 mana off lethal.
Yeah. You could actually just go for it and put him pretty low.
Like that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world considering it.
He has so much damage in his hand already, and like so many options. So he's already got a pretty big board. Even if he loses at all, that means that the Shaman is playing spells to get rid of his board and not really developing anything of his own. There's nothing that can really stand in the way of what he has in his hand.
Snow Chugger. Well, not really that relevant because it's still going to be 4 health, which is the sweet spot for Druid most of the times. And as much as SilentStorm has great value cards, I think he's played this matchup a little bit too slow.
He could taunt up here with the Defender Vargas. Might be able to keep himself alive here, at least for another turn.
All of his options here are pretty tough. You feel obligated to Hex, but you also need to Totem and you need to Defender. It's just...
Yeah, that need... Nah, there's no way. That needed to be Taunt Totem even then. You know, you just dead to Savage Roar. Like, there's just so many ways for you to die here.
Yeah.
And Darkwonyx can choose his poison.
Oh, jeez. Icing on the cake.
I say you go for the Force of Nature Savage Roar combo. You're not trying to hide it.
Yeah. You should
Establish dominance.
Or just Savage Roar and just kill him with the hexes.
I think you Savage Roar and attack for 2, and then you Force of Nature.
What's the sexiest play here?
I think the sexiest is to just be aggressive.
It's kind of BM. I like the frog. I don't know why he's silencing.
Just fill your mana curve when you're trying to be.
Oh, I like this.
Take notes.
Okay, all right.
Very nice.
Not bad, not bad, not bad.
8 out of 10.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Good technique.
The slight
Subtle.
smirk. He's so proud of himself.
SilentStorm looks ecstatic about death by frog.
That's true. He actually got killed by his own hexed frog.
BGH in creative ways, or use the Abusive Sergeant to like buff up your own creatures to get larger Shadow Flames. You have so much removal options every single turn. It's pretty crazy, and you could see the frustration in Savage when SilentStorm was in the last series that he played against him. Like everything he put out, just SilentStorm had an answer every single turn, and that's just how the deck works.
I still feel like Warrior stacks up pretty decently against this.
Yeah, I agree.
Especially if it runs like, you know, Harrison in case he needs to rely on Jiraxis to end the game.
I think SilentStorm already made a pretty big mistake, which was not keeping Dr. Boom. Like I said, this deck is not very threat dense, so I would have kept the card just to have a guaranteed threat on turn 7.
I think it's okay, considering that it's still so far away. It's like you said, you're going to be life tapping a lot. You're going to be playing it more like Handlock than you are like a zoo. So it's definitely the case where you have time to get into it. Plus, that's not the most important card in your deck compared to having Void Caller and big tempo swings. Having like Doomguard pressure, I think, is much more important than the Dr. Boom.
Yeah, we'll see if he does end up drawing Doomguard and getting that. That would be pretty strong for sure.
Or any non-demon that isn't Jiraxis. Although it's always funny when you have Void Caller summon like something else.
Yeah.
Funny is one word for it.
Yeah, it's amusing.
Broken, I think, is like a little more accurate. It's really strong. I guess we're just developing Acolyte here. Darkwonyx is thinking about priming his Despite, I guess.
Is it too greedy just to drop the Acolyte and then just gets Dark Bombed?
I'd be okay with it. It means that there's no Void Caller coming out.
Yeah.
Speaking of which.
Oh man, now if you Despite, you can't really deal with the threat right away. What if Mal'Ganis free rolls 9 damage?
At least. Because you still don't have a way to kill Mal'Ganis afterwards.
Yeah. Best course of action here might just be to leave that Void Caller alive until he knows he can deal with whatever comes out the other side.
Thing is, he still doesn't have that guarantee, so it's a while off before he's able to deal with it. I mean, he also could do the risk where SilentStorm played a Void Caller in one game against Avisa and didn't have any demons to summon.
The look on Sui's face when he saw that happened. He was expecting the worst.
Yeah.
Or the best.
Well, I think we are going to see a Despite. Not too many of these other plays make sense to me.
Yeah.
Question is, does he actually kill the Void Caller this turn? He might just not attack. He might go face. Alright. He's going to let it live. Figures that dealing with a 3-4 is a little bit easier than dealing with whatever it summons.
Which
it's the right
has
case.
a likelihood of being another 3-4.
Yeah, it's definitely a solid play in a lot of cases. I think we are just going to see another Void Caller, though. Just keep the pressure on. Whittle away armor.
Yeah. I guess Jiraxis wouldn't be too bad if you have Defender of Argus to make it a 4-16.
Yeah, like you mentioned, because of Harrison, you don't really want to rely on like playing it.
Right.
And it's also puts you in Grommash range most of the time, being that low.
Do that.
So just getting a 315, forcing them to have the execute is definitely the way to go. And in this case, you know, Darkwonyx doesn't actually have an execute yet, so that's going to go a long way towards winning the game for the Demon Lock.
Yeah, the Harrison Jones is pretty big because Ferdinand was talking earlier about the age of Handlock versus Warrior, and a lot of those games there was such an interesting dynamic of like when to play the Jiraxis as the Handlock, and a lot of times the games would just, you would go on and be a stalemate for so long that Jiraxis and Harrison would be like the last 2 cards in both those guys' hands.
Yeah.
And they'd end up having to play it anyway because he'd run out of cards. There he is.
That's not execute.
That second Acolyte was such a good draw, but he really should have played it rather than looking to top deck and execute. I would really like to see just drawing 2 cards there. I mean, if you can keep up with the card draw of Warlock, per card, Warrior's cards are more powerful. So, as long as you just don't run out of stuff to do, I feel like Warrior will just eventually win the game with the Grommash. I guess he's just going to draw another card here with Taskmaster.
Oh, he can dig for the execute again. He has another chance.
No, doesn't have that. He's going to dump the coin so he doesn't overdraw.
Yeah. He had 9 cards, but with an Acolyte on the board, if he attacked into it, he would have discarded a card the following turn.
Yeah. Defender of Argus is going to be pretty crushing, though.
I guess he would have overdrawn if he played double Acolyte, so that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, Mistress of Pain. So, I guess it's another demon that he can just play and then preemptively get ahead of it, so that way Void Caller summons a legitimate demon.
Yeah. And the positioning is pretty good here because I think that having the Mistress of Pain Defender of Argus is, if he's planning on doing that with the Jiraxis as well, just probably a smart play. Having the Mistress of Pain is better than the Void Caller, I think, in that situation.
Yeah, good point. Having it in the middle there is just going to give him 2 better options on how to defend her.
What now?
Yeah, I was wondering if there was an opportunity to get aggressive, but as a Warrior player, because you do have Grommash in hand, you do have Ragnaros and Brawl, like ways to reset the board, even Dr. Boom, some of your heaviest. But Yeah, it feels like he's fallen so far behind the board that he's in danger of just getting pressured out of the game if he's not too careful. Well, I think Death's Bite to try to at least kill off the Missions of Pain is a start. Still very paranoid about that Void Caller, though.
Have we seen a Demon Heart yet from this deck?
No, I feel like we haven't.
I'm a big fan of just running one in Demon Lock, just so that your Mistress of Pains always have that threat. It's really not the worst card in other situations. It's pretty much Assassinate.
Okay, so he's attacking face, so he is getting aggressive.
Yeah, Darkwonyx is really all in on this brawl, pulling a lot of weight.
Ooh.
Oh, that's some pressure. But Defender of Argus might be the way to go. Continuing the life tap, I like it.
That's what you want to do. Mark of a great Warlock player is being able to oftentimes try to weave into taps whenever you can.
Yeah. And I think this is good because he knows that the demon in his hand right now is Doomguard. So if there's nothing played on the board, he doesn't have any way to sort of activate his Void Caller to put out the Demon Guard onto the board.
Oh. Is it time?
Is it time?
Might be. It might be because Dr. Boom might not do much here on this board whatsoever.
Well, you could trigger a couple bombs this turn if you wanted. It's probably not what you want to do, though.
Yeah, it doesn't feel particularly sharp, so it might be time to brawl.
Yeah.
And of course, we'll find out where this Armorsmith can backflip out as if nothing ever happened.
Which emote? The greetings. This could be pretty big for the outcome of this game, what comes out of this brawl.
Yeah, I would have liked to see him kill the Void Caller first.
Ooh.
It's actually pretty good for him.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. Killing the Void Caller would have been massive.
Yeah, because if it wasn't the Void Caller that came out or his Armorsmith, he would have been left with whatever was on his board. Plus, if there was any demons, which we know it would be Doomguard, would be left as well.
I'm impressed so far in how this Warlock deck is performing in this matchup. I mean, drawing double Void Caller is a big part of it.
Oh,
yikes.
I think that, is that game? How much damage does he have?
A lot.
He's got 5, 9,
That's
12, 14.
Wow.
And SilentStorm's going to win game 3 once again with this Warlock Demon deck, carrying him all the way here so far and getting him one game away from going to the grand finals.
Wow. Darkwonyx took the risk with killing that Void Caller. Ends up putting one more power on the board, which in the end was giving SilentStorm exact lethal.
This Demon Lock carry, though.
I know, right?
I want to see Mistress of Pain against Worgen Infiltrator in the finals.
Yeah, I mean, we'll focus about that another time. Here we go, game number 4. SilentStorm, one game away from going to the grand finals. And again, this guy, he's gone through some of the hardest online tournaments. And he's quoted as one of the best players that you haven't heard of yet. And I think he's put the rest of the community on notice with this kind of performance so far.
He's trying to decide whether to keep this Dark Bomb or not. Personally, I'd like to see him keep the Implosion, just look for some board presence.
The Dark Bomb, I don't necessarily know if I like that keep. Because 3 damage, what's 3 damage going to do against a Druid?
That's a good point,
You
yeah.
can take out a Zombie Chow, but how good is that? And I don't think Darkwonyx is even running that, because this is the token Druid. Very fast. Probably doesn't even run Chows.
Yeah, it is a token Druid, which makes some sense to perhaps keep some AoE against those 1/1s.
Yeah.
Keeper's actually a fine draw here because you can expect him to Ruby Egg early out of this Demon deck, which is one of its best early game plays, to be honest. SilentStorm's going to opt not to coin Life Tap there, and we're going to see a pretty quick Dr. Boom. How do you feel?
3 Dr. Boom.
Wow. And he actually has Big Game Hunter in his opening hand.
Big Game Hunter and Mortal Coil.
Yeah.
One of the most efficient
Wow.
ways to deal with it. Wow.
And if he all-ins for this Dr. Boom, I mean...
When?
My thanks.
Here it is.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. He even starts with the emote. I want to pay close
That's good
attention
sequencing.
to Darkwonyx's face while he gets the sweet, sweet taste of justice.
Double.
Wow.
Oh, he can't double Mortal Coil at least, but that would have been... Wow.
That is just like the perfect response.
SilentStorm's just going to soak in the glory of having the best answer, one of the best answers to Dr. Boom possible. Doesn't decide to use
Darkwonyx just kind of accepts his fate there.
Yeah.
It's actually a pretty smart play not to use the coil there, because you leave him with a boombot anyway, so your big game hunter is just going to die anyway.
Yeah.
So you don't want to waste your coin to mortal coil something that you don't need to.
Leverage the coin for something stronger later on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Wrath for 1 seems to be a good course of action. Needs to get closer to the Ancient of Lore.
Yeah, I think I'd like to see a wild growth here, to be honest. I mean, it doesn't speed up the Sylvanas, but maybe hero powering is better. You save a boombot. It's actually a tough call.
Saving the boombot might be more important if he plays any, the mid-range minion, the Void Caller.
All right, well, time for some coils.
Sounds good to me. Let's see what these guys can do. Hellfire, pretty important against the more token-esque desk.
Yeah, definitely a
deck.
great way to deal with like Violet Teacher tokens or imps. Or not his own imps. Getting late.
6 damage, pretty reasonable.
That's definitely pretty good. I guess it's Sylvanas time. The Cenarius draw's pretty strong too. If he wild growths next turn, he'll speed up the Cenarius by exactly 1 turn. Getting pretty late in the game though, he might opt to save that for a card.
Well, there's a lot of interesting cards out of the hand, but I think Void Caller is his best bet considering he has Mal'Ganis and Jiraxis in hand. And the sequencing of the plays does matter, right? The fact that Sylvanas came first before Void Caller.
Absolutely. It's going to favor the Warlock.
Yeah, whatever comes out won't get stolen since Sylvanas was plopped down.
Yeah, but I feel like that you're going to have to silence that Void Caller for sure.
Yeah, you can't let that live. Very tempting to play Power of the Wild too, but I think Wild Growth is a little bit better. Power of the Wild doesn't really change what dies and what doesn't. And you can use that after Cenarius for some better value.
Sure. That's a good point. You put the 1/1 buffs across those 2/2 treants if they survive. That's assuming, however, that they do survive. We do have Hellfire sitting in the hand of SilentStorm.
Shadow Flame as well.
Well, Darkwonyx is going to think through all of his options right now, but in the end, I'm pretty sure Keeper has to be the play. The only question is, what does he do besides that? And does he kill the Void Caller? Does he kill the Mistress of Pain? What does he go with?
Okay.
All right, he's going to play Power of the Wild. Maybe.
Let none survive.
Oh, wow.
Wow, that's so aggressive.
Okay.
All right, well, if he gets Savage Roar, how much damage would he have if his opponent couldn't deal with it? I mean, that would be game-ending damage, so... I mean, Darkwonyx being on the more aggressive side, realizing who's the beatdown and who's the control.
Well, this Druid deck from Darkwonyx has been the most explosive Druid deck that we've seen over the course of the weekend. With the token-heavy Power of the Wilds, double combo.
Right.
More often than not, if Darkwonyx has the option, or has had the option when he's been playing this deck to go aggressive, he's taken it just about every time.
Leaving these minions alive, though, is going to make for a pretty nasty defender of Argus, especially with that Ruby Egg draw. This is why you usually kill minions. Alright, gaining some life back up. Nerubian Egg's huge issue now, since Keeper of the Grove was already played. Now we get to that stage of the game where Druid's far ahead the entire time, but it doesn't really have a way of closing the game out, and Warlock's inevitability kind of closes the game slowly but surely.
Yeah, that's one of the risks of going for like really crazy double innervate plays early on, because sometimes they pay off. Like if you didn't have the Doctor or the Big Game Hunter for the Dr. Boom, if he just didn't have a way to deal with it, that could have just straight up won him the game. But he just ran out of cards so quickly, and now his options are slim every single turn. He's sort of just waiting for the Ancient of Lore drop to refill his hand. And you said it right. He just doesn't have a way to just close it out. He's got to draw into like both pieces of his combo to be able to push through. And by that time, we've seen this Warlock deck can actually put out quite a bit of burst as well. got a lot of damage that can come from the hand.
We're about to see SilentStorm's infamous Implosion killing Sylvanas play. He's been doing this the entire tournament to avoid this card. Who needs Iron Beak Owl when you roll 4s?
Well, I mean, he's also gotten the better end of it almost every single time, so I feel like if he rolls a 4, I feel like a Nerubian again, it might get stolen.
Yeah, even if he rolls like 3s with it, it's 3s or 2s, it's fine as well.
Well, actually, we forgot about the sequencing.
Yeah.
The Sylvanas goes Death Rattle triggers first, so he didn't need to Implosion.
Yeah, that was much stronger for sure. No risk on that play.
That's a really heads-up play, actually.
And all of a sudden, Warlock is back up to 27 health after a Mistress of Pain attacks a couple times. Goes to Ancient Heal Bot from 15 to 17. Or 27. 15 to 17. 15 to 27.
Power overwhelming, okay. Well, I could go with Shadow Flame to clear the board, but I guess he's going to Implosion instead.
Yeah, well, works out okay. 2 is exactly enough to kill, but more than that, he just needed to do something to get rid of that taunt and start pushing.
Yeah, I guess the plan is to just let Cenarius live. I mean, even Force of Nature's Savage Roar isn't lethal, so... Okay, Violet Teacher Wild Growth is pretty cool in turn 10. You get a lot of 1/1s.
Picks up Power of the Wild number 2.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
That he actually has a pretty strong board.
It's very true, yeah. Using that Wild Growth on turn 10, of course, you get those 2 tokens, because you also get the excess mana spell.
Shanax Rammus isn't too shabby either, but it's not safe from Shadow Flame or Hellfire.
Yeah, I don't think any plays are. I mean, SilentStorm can Shadow Flame the board for 8 if he wants to.
That's going to clear everything.
Yeah. And put some damage on as well in the process.
So then what is Darkwonyx, what is his best bet here then? To play it slow?
No,
hero power something down?
his best bet is to play Shade and just hope he doesn't have Shadow Flame. Knowing the cards, it's not going to work out great, but I feel like there isn't really a winning play here.
No, he just hasn't had many options.
Definitely. He had the Wild Growth double Innervate, but yeah, like you said, he actually had double Wild Growth double Innervate. And yeah, because of that, just not too many options as far as what to play with it.
Is that the second time that happened? I feel like Savit started off with double Wild Growth and like an
Right.
Innervate, and he still didn't win that game either.
No, he won.
Yeah, he won. It was
Against
double
Demon
Wild
Lock?
Growth. Oh, no.
Oh, against Demon Lock.
I'm thinking of a game that happened earlier in the day.
I thought you meant the screenshot one.
Yeah. Double Wild
I don't
Growth,
think I'll
double
forget that
Innervate.
game. Wow.
Yeah.
Man, so much power going to be on that board.
Yeah.
And SilentStorm is making the victory push and trying to halt the Warlock in its spot, in its place right here.
That is just insane value.
I mean, he cleared the board and left his board with more power than what it began with.
Yep, got to swipe face in top deck. That's the play.
Yeah.
Well, I guess he doesn't have to if he has Shade that's going to survive, right?
Oh, that's a good point. Maybe you swipe a minion.
Yeah, so that way you
Kill
reduce
the-
some of the chances that you die.
The Nerubians, I guess, are going down.
Yeah, that makes the most sense here.
We see there's...
Hellfire would also put him within his own range too, right? He'd be at 17 from the swipe and then 3, so there's still a chance.
Mal'Ganis is going to put a pretty big wrench in those plans, though.
Yes, absolutely. That's the checkmate piece.
Yep.
And you know, Dark, Eno's all too familiar with the checkmate pieces because he's a chess national finalist for his age group back in the day.
It's pretty impressive.
Very impressive. As is his run, but I think he's on his final 2 turns here.
That
I'm
put
not-
him in a position for a top deck Force of Nature to win, but
Oh, that Voidwalker. Destroyer of dreams.
the champion.
Protecting Mal'Ganis. The ultimate wingman, Voidwalker.
Yeah.
Voidwalker also skips legs day, by the way. 3-5, oh my goodness. Ascension Shieldmaster for 1 mana.
He skipped leg day so much, in fact, that his legs just disappeared.
Who needs leg day if you have arms like that, man?
Indeed.
Hyped and Lothar have nothing on Voidwalker.
Yeah. It was all downhill for Voidwalker after the Jersey Shore. He's in Hearthstone now.
Yeah, Darkwonyx looks like he can't deal with Mal'Ganis. A 3-5 sits in between him and one of the strongest permanents in the entire game. I think that's going to wrap it up.
This looks like the last turn of Darkwonyx's tournament, so he's going to think through every possibility, do what he can.
Look at that.
He can stay alive if he taunts up his Druid of the Claw and clears things with Savage Roar.
Can he?
Yeah, if he Savage Roars,
The
he can
Doom
clear
Guard
off
and
the...
oh, you're saying he thinks he can.
He thinks he can.
Right. Because I'm pretty sure the Hellfire and the Doom Guard is enough to kill, no matter what happens here. What a story. The fact that 2 of the first place finishers of the group could not go past the semifinals. Instead, it's Chalky and SilentStorm, the runner-ups.
Yeah. Wow.
And,
the story, man, is that Druids just don't learn their lesson and keep trying to beat Demon Luck.
Well, SilentStorm was talking about this deck from day one in his interview. He said he really likes his Warlock deck and to look out for it. And, I mean, it's carried him through so many games.
Yep, there it is.
Swagfire.
Got him.
SilentStorm is going to the grand finals of Hearthstone Season 1 Legendary Series to face off against Chalky and $8,000. The best player that you haven't heard of.
Yeah, congratulations to him. It's just an awesome deck to see make it this far, and I hope we get to see more of it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those things that's like he's playing the decks that people have forgotten about or don't